Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you how I made this card using the Fancy Floral Suite of products found in our new 2023 January mini catalog. This suite has such beautiful products in it that will allow you to create all kinds of projects. So let me set this aside and I'll show you how I got started. We're going to start with our stamping here, and I'm going to grab my So Succulent cardstock and my green leafy image, and I'm going to stamp that onto the cardstock with enough room so that I can die cut. Then I'm going to bring in my basic white piece and I'm going to start building flowers. Now I'm going to use this little grouping of flowers here first with the orchid, and I'm doing that full strength. Then I'm going to bring in the larger of the two flowers and I am going to stamp that. Now I wanted to show you something here, and I hope you can see it on the video. I have got an air bubble here in the center of my stamp. And with that air bubble, I won't get as clear of an image. So I want to peel that back and reapply so that the air bubble is gone before I stamp. Now, since this is a two-step image, I find that stamping the detail image first is easier for me. So let me move that out of the way. And I'm going to stamp this full strength with the orchid. And then I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper for my stamping off and my two-step image, and I'm going to ink that up. Now, I want to make sure I have a nice, complete coverage on my image, and then I'm going to stamp off and then line it up and stamp my image. There we go. Beautiful every time. The next thing I'm going to do is the same thing, but with the smaller flower and the Calypso coral. So I'm stamping, leaving enough room for die cutting, of course, and then the two-step image, and I'm lining up this little crescent here. I hope you can see that in the center of my stamp. But first I'm going to stamp off and then go right over that image and line up that little half moon and stamp. There we go. I've got my images finished and I can die cut them. I can set my scrap piece aside that I use for my two-step and bring in the die cut. Now I've cut this die using basic white. This happens to be part of the bundle with the sentiment set that I'm using today. And I wanted to cut it out first to make it a little easier. I'm going to bring in my soft succulent again. And this stamp happens to be a rubber stamp, but because I'm going to be doing this at a little bit of an angle, I'm comfortable just stamping this freehand. So I'm going to stamp this at the top of my tag or die cut shape, and I'm making sure that I stamp it below those little indentations. I've got my stamping done and I'm ready to start building my card front. I've die cut my images and I'm ready to start assembling. First, I'm going to start with this die cut piece that I stamped the sentiment on. I'm going to bring my paper snips in and I'm simply going to cut it about 2/3 of the way down. There we go. And I'm going to bring in this beautiful gold shimmer paper. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to adhere this in place. I'm using the multi-purpose because the shimmer paper has a little bit of a texture to it, and this will help hold it in place. Now I'm going to place that bottom half about 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom in the center of my shimmer paper. And then I'm going to take that top half with my sentiment and adhere it to the top of the shimmer paper, leaving a gap in between, like so. Now that I have that done, I can let that dry and I can bring in my card base. I'm going to fold my card base on the score line. And then I'm going to adhere my designer series paper, and this is just beautiful. You can use both sides or whichever side you prefer, but I happen to be using this one with the shades of the Orchid and Pool Party. And I'm going to put that right on top of my Orchid Oasis mat. Now that I have that done, I'm going to adhere my panel here that I have layered. So I'm going to adhere this flat right onto the front, and I'm going to tilt it slightly. There we go. Now that I have that done, I'm going to bring in this beautiful pool party ribbon. This is a Grow Gain, and it's got such a nice texture, and the edging on it is just a lovely detail. I'm going to wrap that around the layered panel, and I am going to tie into a bow. Straighten that up the way I'd like, bring in my paper snips and trim, and I'm going to trim this other end also, just to give it a nice clean look. And if I snag, so I'm going to trim that slightly smaller. There we go. Now that I've got that in place, I can kind of adjust it since I've wrapped it around, and I'm going to be putting my greenery and my flowers on here. So I think I'm going to slide this to the left side, like so. And I'm going to lower it a little bit, bringing it farther down. Okay, I've got my ribbon in place, and I can start building my panel. Now, if you prefer, because you're using our stamp and seal, you can adhere that to the card from right now. But what this does is allow me a little bit of movement if I need to adjust my ribbon a little bit. So I am going to bring in my little flowers here, and I am going to adhere those down on the left side, like so, and I'm just doing these flat. Okay, I'm going to adhere down my greenery at this point, and I'm going to add a little adhesive to it, and I'm going to tuck it under that ribbon so that it peeks out. At this point, I'm going to bring my large Orchid Oasis flower in, and I'm going to place that so that it straddles the smaller flowers here, and then I'm going to place this other one so that it's kind of tucked in there. So let me adhere that down. Now on these, if you wanted, you could pop them both up, but I'm going to simply pop the one up. I've got that one done, so I'm going to turn this one over and add some Stampin' Dimensionals. And then adhere, and I'm going to adhere that, let's see, I'm going to tuck it in right under there, and I am going to make sure I cover those flowers a little bit and adhere. And that's why if you aren't adhering your ribbon down, it allows you to make the adjustment before you add it to your card front here. So I'm ready to add it to my card front, and if you aren't worried about height and mailing, you can use dimensionals to do this so that you have a little bit of shadow, but I'm going to adhere it straight down like so. And I'm going to do a little bit to the inside of the card here. I took that little piece of designer series paper off the card front. I hated to just set it aside. It was so pretty that I'm going to simply adhere it to the bottom of my inside panel. And at this point, you could stamp something if you would like, or you can just tuck it inside like I'm going to do. Next, I'm going to bring in these absolutely gorgeous iridescent pastel gems. They come in 3 colors, and you can choose the color that you would like. They also come with 2 sizes, a small and a large. For this project, I'm going to pick up the soft ones here because I am using this beautiful gold shimmer paper. I'm going to set a large one right here, and then I'm going to pick up one of our small ones, pop it up there, and I think I'll place one more small one down here under the ribbon on the greenery, just for a little bit of bling. So there you go, a simply elegant card made with the Fancy Flora Suite Collection found in our new 2023 mini catalog. I think you're really going to enjoy working with these products. They're simply lovely. And of course, if you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. You can get there from my blog, Stamp with Jini. Thanks for joining me.